Oh yeah, yeah.
We're
So
there.
we are live. Yeah, exactly, exactly. We're live again, and um, it's always good to be live. I'm always excited every time we're online. You know, either for a conference or anything or any conversation. It's always exciting. Well, let me confirm that you can hear me. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you. I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
Great, great. Very well, very well, very well,
Awesome.
very well. Okay, so just by way of introduction, my name is Adebayo. Um, I'm the head of research and chief learning designer at EAZY-DIGI, and I have with me here Teresa. Teresa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Teresa Mayers. I'm from South Africa, and I am part of the research board here at EAZY-DIGI Ethics Solutions. And yeah, we come to the table to just raise awareness and ask some questions in the hope of finding some answers.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's what this is all about. Um, we have been doing this show for some time. You know, even before we had the K to 12 2030 conference, we've been doing this show for some time, and really talking about the global risk report and the African education system. And I think this is the third series. Yes, this is the third series in the show. This is like the third episode on this particular topic. Wanted to do it for just a day and then go off the topic, but we discovered that when we started, there was a lot. We discovered that there was really a lot to talk about. You know, this topic seemed to be somewhat so complex, and we want to just spend some time, you know, in really digging deep and trying to really bring out a number of issues, practically speaking to educators now that they need to understand, and school leaders, and just trying to let them understand what is really happening, where the world is right now from the reports, and then what it means for the education system in Africa, and what we can begin to do practically to ensure that we really have schools that are relevant. To say so many schools today are not relevant. They are just busy doing really not connected with the present, and neither will they be relevant in the future. So we know that in Africa, we need to be in that place where we can say that we are also um, equipping the coming generation to be relevant in the present and also in the future. And then that's why we see that this topic is something that we need to spend some time, really looking at now as regards the global risk report and the African education system. So today is going to be quite different. Teresa, I hope you're ready. Um, you're going to do more of driving the conversation today, uh, because I know you have a lot. I know we've discussed before now, and then I know you have a number of things that, of course, from the depth of research, because we know strongly that when a time where research and development (R&D) has to be very strong in education. Um, we call it a number of things in different places across the nations. We call it different kind of, but R&D is R&D. And so if whatever it looks like in any nation, if it is not putting the education in that nation in a place where what is obtainable is current and is strong and is globally reckoned, then it's not R&D, so to say. Then um, it's in education that I know that R&D is replaced with something else, and they call it one name. Whether they call it quality assurance or they call it give it something or other. But at the bottom of it, at the bottom of it, what we want to see is that we need
I'm sorry,
research.
you're just distorted there a bit.
Oh, how about now? Can you hear me?
There we go.
Okay, is it perfect now?
There we go.
Okay, great. So we just need research and development to be on the top of things, and even in education, right? And so I'm glad that from the perspective of research, you are going to be pointing out a number of things, so connected to the topic, the global risk report, and how we need to just start taking some starting steps, and ensuring that we have a system of education in Africa, right, that can guarantee a great future for Africa. Right. So right now, Teresa, I'm going to hand over to you, and then you're going to be the pilot for today. Of course, you know me, I'm here, and then we're driving this together. All right, Teresa, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think it's important to provide just a little bit of context, especially if we have new listeners joining us today. We have started out and we thought that we would be able to address the global risk report in one session, one fireside chat. But we've discovered that there is so much that we need to actually delve into so that we can actually understand why this is important, why it is important to spread awareness about this, and also why it is important that we take a look at how do our findings link with what we do in education. So in our first two sessions, we have managed to discuss two of the risks that we found are beneficial to discover. The first one was the disorderly climate transition, and that was an environmental risk. We've also taken a look at the technological risk in the second session, which had us looking at digital dependency and our cyber vulnerabilities, and we explored a little bit about how that affects us as a global society, as individuals, and also what that means for education and what we need to be doing with education. So today our focus is going to be on geopolitical risks, and I think this is a huge one because this one affects countries, it affects nations, and it affects people on the ground mostly. Because as we know, there are various different reasons why people migrate, and that is the
Mm.
risk that we are going to be looking at today. So I think I'm just quickly going to just from my notes indicate what some of these the reasons are that people migrate, because that is going to be our focus. I think we can just take a look at interstate conflict as the first one. When there is state collapse, when when there's political unrest, we take a look at terrorist attacks. We take a look at weapons of mass destruction, the collapse of multi-state institutions, geoeconomic confrontations, and then also the contestation of strategic resources. So these are geopolitical aspects that have an impact on individuals, groups of people, sometimes whole nations. And these are what drives people to migrate. And when they migrate, it is because they are looking for a better option. They are looking for an opportunity or a solution to their immediate problem. When that happens, however, obviously there are consequences. There are consequences for the country of origin, and there's also consequences for the destination country. So I think those are the things that we first of all just need to make sure we understand, and then we need to understand why this now is a problem. So what the Global Risk Report has identified is barriers to migration as being a risk. So what does that mean? Again, I'm just quickly going to come back to the numbers. You know, I like to quote the numbers. 200 million climate refugees by 2050 is estimated.
Wow.
That's a huge number.
Mm.
9% decline in FDI to low income countries in 2021. That has already happened. And an alarming factor to me that was like, wow, 4,800 migrants perished or went missing in 2021. So these are the factors, obviously, that spark a whole lot of conversations. But this is the basis on what this is driven, and why we want to have a conversation about this today. And we also want to take a look at, with everything that I've just highlighted now, how does that affect education? Do you want to come in there?
Yeah. Yeah. So how does that affect education? How what is it, what how do we connect the dots? Right. I know everyone listening to this conversation. That's the question for every school leader, for every educator. That's the question. All of these figures that have been mentioned. how does that influence education? So for me as an African, global citizenship, right, is something that is totally out of the learning design in Africa, right? So an African child does not understand that he or she belongs to a world, or he or she deserves a world, and belongs to a world, and is entitled to a world, to a globe, right? So an African child grows up looking at his community, and everyone is sees here and there, and then may not know or may never know, because of the kind of education he or she is exposed to, that there is a whole wide world that he or she can access at the tip of his finger, even without moving from where he is, even without moving. Talking about migrations and the barriers to migration. So I can tell you that right now, to, for example, in Nigeria, so we have we have a generation of startup companies um, that that their operations are remote, right? It's not, some of them are hybrid and some of them are just fully remote, right? So and these companies involve teams of people within and outside Nigeria, you know, but a team of people just coming, still leveraging on the fact that we're now in a world that is globally interconnected, right? That is so much interconnected, right? So today, I can choose to say, instead of going all the
Sorry,
way to Harvard,
the sound was distorted there for a minute again.
okay, how about now? Can you hear me very well? Okay, so today I can choose to say, instead of going all the way to Harvard to study a course, I can take up the course online and have the whole experience, right? And at the end of the day, get the certificate to say, oh, I've taken a course from Harvard and all of that. So what I see for education is the fact that one of the things that needs to be embedded in the African education design, right, is the fact that global citizenship must become a strong component, and every African child must experience this. I'm saying that right in the midst of the learning, there must be an opportunity for these kids, for these African kids, to interact with kids from other continents and have conversations, right? They must run projects together, they must solve problems together, they must have conversations together. This is practically how an African child will understand that he or she belongs to a globe, belongs to a global village, and not just Africa. You see how we're in a time where we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So even those in the Western world, they are seeing, I mean, the right ones, they are seeing that, oh, we are all one. Like, we should be talking about equity right here. We are all one. There's no reason why we should be separated. We should have the same quality of education. We should have the same quality of life and standard of living and all of that. That's the conversation right now globally. And so an African child must understand, right, or must be exposed to the kind of education where this is the core, right? Where he or she has that opportunity. So if an African child is given that opportunity, growing up, living the K-12 system, there's that mindset of the fact that, oh, I belong to a big world. I can connect with anyone from anywhere. Um, I can have someone. Let's talk about myself and you, for example, right? Remember the first time we met? I'm in Nigeria. You were in Abu Dhabi right that time, right? All right. So we started having a conversation. All right. See where we've come together with EAZY-DIGI. I'm in Nigeria. You are in Abu Dhabi. Right now, you're in South Africa. We haven't met physically, right? But so much has happened. So the African child needs to understand that physical migration is great, but physical migration is not an achievement, so to say, right? It's great, right? It's not an achievement, right? It's a mindset, right? From where you are as an African child, you deserve and you belong to a global village, and you can have that interaction right from being a child. That can happen, right? So that's why I think.
No, absolutely. I agree exactly with that because, there's a lot of benefits when people choose to migrate. And I think I'm qualified to speak about this because I've been in another country for 7 years. And
Mm.
the benefits of migration, like I indicated, there's always benefits for the individual on a personal level. There's benefits for the host country, and there's also benefits for the country of origin. There's shared prosperity, there's a reduction in poverty, as some of the indications of these benefits. Labor shortages in other countries or destination countries, those are addressed. And there's many gains to come from a situation where migration takes place. When
mm,
we take a look at whole industries that depend on migrant workers, I think that is what the report is actually speaking to. The fact that there are countries that are so dependent on migrant labor, but the
mm,
barriers to migration now are preventing situations like that from happening. The consequences also of having these barriers to migration result in exactly what you are talking about. And if we're taking a look at COVID and the whole situation that happened there, this became an opportunity for us to take a look at how one single event can actually stop things that are seen as normal. It disrupts all of that. And the result, especially for migrant workers, were in certain industry like your tourism industry,
yeah,
healthcare, agriculture, warehousing, food services,
mm,
skilled labor. These industries were hugely affected by this because there could not be any movement between countries, between borders. And what that has done is, for individuals, it meant that they had to take a look at a career change. They had to
yeah,
reevaluate where they were, what their skill sets were, and what they
mm,
could do with what they had because opportunities were limited.
mm,
And I think that is why this is such an important topic because it just shows us how what we need to be educating learners on is adaptability, number one. Anything can happen at
adaptability.
any time.
Mm,
Adaptability. That's
yeah,
something that we need to be able to focus on.
mm,
We need to be able to focus on making sure individuals are employable, and you are employable when you have the kind of skills that are needed, a skill set that will allow you to be headhunted, for an example.
yeah, yeah,
But I think also when we speak about the innovation that we really are big on, when we talk about the problem solving, the solution providing, if there is a situation that prevents us from migrating, for instance, um, you are localized. It simply means that you need to come up, you need to be innovative, you need to find solutions to your immediate problems. And if
mm,
you are versatile and if you are flexible and if you have that kind of adaptability, then any issue, any risk that you are faced with is a little bit more handleable because you can now draw on your skill set, your experiences, your capabilities, and you can do something in your immediate environment. And I think that is what we want to take away from this. Yes, we have
yeah,
risks. Yes, these risks are global. Yes, these risks have dire consequences. But so what? What are we doing about it? And I think that's the part that we want to address. What do we do about that?
mm. Interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for mentioning adaptability. Anything can happen at any time. We're in a world that is volatile. Anything can just change at any time, and we need to teach. We need an education system that create learning experiences that practically teaches kids adaptability. And so let me take it deep down. Um, right now, I can speak of Nigeria and a number of African nations too. Uh, we have this exam we call the West African examination certificate, WAEC, for West African nations. I know for South African, I know there's South African is CAP, I know, and but I do not know for the North African countries, and what they, I'm not so sure. But then we see an education system that is static and is routine based, right? It's not changing because I'm trying to look at the balance. Now, this risk is pointing to the fact that adaptability has to be an important skill for the African child to thrive in his or her own future, right? So, if the education system that the African child has been exposed to is such that does not model a world that is changing or situations, circumstances that are changing, things that are changing over and over time, if that child is not in that kind of atmosphere, then that means that child is really not going to be ready, right? So I see that practically what this means is down to the learning experiences. We want to expose these kids to learning experiences that puts them in a place where they have to find their way through real things that are changing, right? Experiences where these kids have to be able to adapt to. So when I mean changes now, it can mean like, for example, um, today they are in the classroom, and the next 2 days they have to go to another location, and then that location they have to interact with a number of things, and then still be able to learn and do some findings, and just that's as simple as that might be, a change of environment, a change of approach, right? So if what they keep experiencing is every morning they come to the classroom, the teacher comes to stand before them and teaches them, and they have that, and that is the only experience they have, then they are not exposed to an atmosphere where there are changes, and then they have to adapt, right? On the morning, it can be that what is going to happen is that the whole chairs are evacuated from the classroom, and then you just have few chairs, and the first thing the kids are coming to do in the classroom for that day, right, is to do presentations, right? So they come to a classroom that is changing, which is also modeling a world that can change, not a classroom that the thing is predictable, right? Of course, every time they come, enter the classroom, chair is set, everything, and the whole thing is not changing. So I think practically, want to look inward into the schools, into the classrooms, and see how we can begin to design learning experiences that models a world that is changing, right? I want to add some other thing, but I think you might want to add something to that before I jump on the next thing I would like to say.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, so I said I want to add something to what I just said now, but I think you might want to add something to my illustration.
Oh, absolutely. Our research takes us into different scenarios, and we're constantly doing research, even if we're just having conversations with people on ground level. And this week, I've had interactions of various kinds that I think are valuable to share at this point. One of the things that struck me is conversations with South African teachers, and I think what struck me was the fact that we still have teachers who are coming into a classroom and putting notes on a board.
Mm,
And we still have learners passively taking down those notes, and that is the educational experience.
mm,
Um, and yes, we need the content. The learners need the content. That is not something we can ever get away from. But I think what is a slow process at the moment is to balance new ways of delivering content with the old way of doing things. And I think that is still a sad reality in many different African countries and in many different education scenarios. And of course, we understand also that access to resources and the demands of curriculum, paper-based learning, assessments that are coupled with the delivery of curriculum, all those things are very important because they impact what is happening. But I think that it is the mindset of our teachers also that is there's a gap there. There's an opportunity to come in and say, listen, we see you, we understand your frustrations, we understand that you are bogged down with so much to do, so little time and limited resources. But if we do exactly what it is that you are doing in a different way, the value of the educational experience is going to result in a better learner, more committed learner, a learner that now sees value in actually going through the education process. Because many teachers are complaining about learners that don't want to learn.
yeah.
I had the pleasure of listening to a presentation by Destination Imagination, and I've listened to young people speak about talent. And one thing that was addressed was, yes, it's a good thing to have talent, but how do you discover your talent? And once you've discovered your talent, what do you do with that? And how can you use your talent and monetize what you have? I think it always boils down to that. Um,
Yeah.
Learners want to be able to see what can I do with what I'm learning that is going to
Yeah.
make my immediate situation a little bit
Yeah.
better. So I think that's what we want to focus on. We want to focus on not looking to blame, not looking to point fingers, not looking to criticize. We are looking to let us find situations, suggestions in how to do things better so that the educational process that we are anyway involved in becomes a little bit more meaningful, not only for you as a
Yeah.
teacher, because
Yeah.
there's nothing worse than, and I mentioned that there's nothing worse that can happen to a learner than an uninspired teacher.
Yeah.
Um, and unfortunately, the sad reality is that teachers have immense frustrations because of the
Mm.
workload and the other challenges that they face. But I definitely think that there is value in looking at how we can mitigate those circumstances and make life a little bit better and easier for teachers and learners both at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. That's where again technology comes to help. Like I always say, if technology can do it, don't do it, right? Don't do it. And even in our world today, we have a number of simple technologies, a number of simple edtech tools that can really be a game changer, right? So you see schools at their level in different ways adopting technology to really make the work easier for them, right? This is happening everywhere. Schools are beginning to look for ways, because we the resignation is here. Even in education, it's here. The great resignation is here. Teachers are becoming, yeah, they are becoming frustrated really because of the work-life balance and and what it means for them. Everyone wants to be happy. Like, everyone wants to be happy, and so this is why a lot of conversations are going around this. Thinking through, and that's why one of the things we do with schools is that we do scrum meetings with them, right? We analyze the whole system, right? We talk about how do we really make work easy. It will amaze you. You'll be glad to know that uh, we have a number, like I was discussing with the school now recently, we're having a brainstorming session, right? And one of the things that we agreed on, the school, the director of school mentioned that right now they're thinking of only coming to schools on Monday to Thursday. They want to take Friday off for virtual learning, right? So Monday to Thursday, and even between Monday and Thursday, there's going to be time where teachers will not be standing in the classroom, where the kids are going to be learning on devices, right? They're going to learn by themselves, right? Of course, because we want to get to a place where we raise learners who are independent learners, right? That's another thing that is missing in our learning design in Africa. We want to have learners who are self-motivated, who want to learn, who do not need a teacher to drive the learning. Learners who have been baptized into mobile learning, who find it interesting to open their device or open a book and learn anywhere, not minding a timetable or want to have those kind of learners, right? And you can see all of that happening, points to the fact that there are conversations that are needed. We need to discuss. You need to, locally based on what is obtainable, right? Teachers need to discuss among themselves. They need to discuss with their school administrators. There has to be that conversation. How do we make this work easy for everyone? How do we make teachers excited, right? How can technology help us, right? So that we can have a happy environment where the educators are happy, where the learners are happy, where the learners are happy too because, like you said, they find meaning in what they are doing, right? When kids don't find meaning in what they are doing, they distract themselves. That's what happens. That's what happens. Today we see different kind of things happening in the African schools. We see young people getting into sexuality, smoking. I saw some videos. I've seen a number of videos lately of what kids are doing in schools. And here is the thing: the moment these kids do not find meaning in whatever they are doing, they distract themselves. All of these things they are doing, all of this sexual morality, smoking, all of the, they are doing it because they want a life for themselves, and then we put them in that place called school where it looks like they're in bondage and they can't express themselves. Expression is missing, right? And they only have to sit down and do that thing over and over. They are tired, they don't want to do it again, right? Which is why we're also appealing to educators. If you're handling especially teenagers, right, we need to design learning experiences that meet their level. These Gen Z kids, they are, I mean, they are crazy. The way they are thinking is we need to open them up. We need to open them up to a world where they are leading the learning. That's what they want. They want to lead the learning experience. We need to put them in a place where they are finding information, not just consuming information. We need to put them in a place where they are doing research, they are brainstorming, they are dealing with tough problems. Yeah, if that is not happening, they will just get find. That's what they're doing. All these things are doing right now, right? I think you want to see something.
Look, what you are saying there is so valuable because I do think that learners have the kind of skills, and we've spoken about this before. Learners have the kind of skills that those that are of us that are so old school that will just leave our mouths hanging open. Um, just this morning, I spoke to a 12-year-old, and he sent me a text, and we were discussing growth mindset, and he sends me a text, but he uses a different font, and I'm like, "How did you do that?" And within 30 seconds, he sends me a screen recorded video showing me exactly how to do it, and I'm like,
Well,
"Wow!" And this is how our learners think.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that is why I'm saying there is definitely value. And Adebowale says it there. If technology can do it, don't do it. I see in the
yeah,
comments there, dropped us a
yeah,
message. Thank you so much. Please feel free to do any questions or any commentary in the chat box below. We'd be happy to engage. So if we are going to get to the place where we can allow learners to take charge of learning, because we don't have to, that takes a
yeah,
burden to us as teachers. So instead of just providing the answers or just providing the notes or just providing the content, as our role as teachers, if we are just there to ask the questions and challenge them to get to a solution that has many different other options, has many different other ways of presenting themselves, because learners are very skilled in that as well. I think that if we can just move to that way of of education, the education experience is going to become a little bit more meaningful.
yeah,
Um, I wanna come back, if you will allow me, to some of the consequences, the economic consequences that we face according to the risk report. There are certain, I feel like we in the old way of doing things, we groom learners to fit into certain boxes, into certain industries, because we were used to traditionally these are secure industries. But some of these secure industries are now at risk as well because of what we've just spoken about earlier, digitalization. So there are some estimations. 85 million jobs will be destroyed by automation in the
hmm.
next 20 years.
I mean, that's huge. That's huge.
85 million jobs will be destroyed by automation. What do we mean by that? Like, as a teacher, I'm going to be replaced by a robot. I don't have a job. So if you take a look at the implications this has, there are going to be many industries where learners was educated in that are going to be obsolete, because those industries or those workers will no longer be needed.
Yeah,
It has also emerged that 97 million new jobs will occur, but they will not match the skill set of many migrant workers.
hmm.
And the industries that we are talking about now, travel industry, tourism, healthcare, agriculture, food service, warehousing,
Hmm.
skilled labor,
Hmm.
automation is going to be the result of loss of jobs, but we are also going, there's hope. New kinds of jobs are going to be made available, but the skill set is
Yeah.
going to demand a completely new way of doing things. And I think
Hmm.
that's the part that we want to address.
Hmm. Interesting, interesting. So I like it every time when you mention that word, skill set, skill set, skill set, and and this is why again, in the K to 12 system, we're saying that more important than covering a scheme of work is imparting the skill set, right? More important than the grade, right, is the skill, because grades are not transient, right? They're not transferable. They are not transferable. The word grade only makes sense in the school environment, right? But in reality, what people are asking for is the skills, is the skills, is the skills, is the skills. I mean, you can just go on LinkedIn, create a profile, put your skills there, what you can do, and all of that, and then people are looking for a job everywhere. They go on. Recruiters are always looking. They even come to check your profile without you knowing, and then you check, you see that, oh, someone has checked my profile, and then when they find you fit, you have the skill set. Come to an interview. Let's see what you can do, and then you are up for it, and that's all. So it's the skill set. I love that you mentioned again that so for Africans who are thinking of migrating, now you need to start thinking as an African that this country I want to migrate to, do I have the skill set for the emerging jobs in that country? That's a big question. That's a big question. Do I have the skill set for the emerging jobs in that company? If that is not in place, then you better sit in Africa. But then the point is that still leveraging on technology, still leveraging on technology. We see again today that two opportunities. Of course, like migrating is a great idea, right? Going to see a different place, meeting that physical touch is very, very great. Um, but if you find yourself in a place where that's not possible, you really can leverage on technology, right? If you build a great digital portfolio for yourself, and that's why right now schools must move away from report cards to digital portfolio. We need that. I don't know if you know that thing called report card. That thing that at the end of the term, they give kids to take home, and then it shows all the subjects and their grades. That thing, right? A grade is not the true measure of a learning experience.
Mhm. Or
I
even
mean,
on the competency of the candidate.
yeah, yeah, it's not. We need something that can show truly what these kids have learned. We need something that looks like a digital portfolio, right? That shows that this is how much of this skill your child has gotten. This is how much of this skill. This is even what is more important to the parents. And even parents don't understand this. Your child brings a report card home and you're busy looking for what is called in math, in English, in science, in geography, and whatever. All of those things are basic. We're not trashing them. They are basic. But what is more important is the skills that your kids have been able to garner through the learning experiences, right? So we are saying that schools today, in Africa, we need to consider building digital portfolios, right? Digital portfolios that is able to indicate, that is able to show the skills that these skills have been able to build, right? And this is going to help too, in their own future when they want to get a job, all right? These portfolios can be tendered. Who cares about my, I don't know, my report card? Nobody cares about that right now. But if I have a kind of digital portfolio way back at my primary level that shows some skills in fact, this can even guide parents in the right course selection for their kids, right? Because as a parent, if your school is telling you that you have a child in the primary level, right from the primary level, this child has started demonstrating a lot of a great communication skill, right? You can begin to think of your child as being a journalist. You can begin to think of, jobs and courses related to strong communication skills, right? You can begin to think of your child in that capacity and how to really guide your child correctly, right? If the portfolio is saying that, oh, your child has great problem solving skills, that can give you, an insight as a parent that, oh, if my kids have this number of skills, then which job really needs these skills? Then I need to allow my child to study the course that is in line. So with this, parents can be guided in the choice of the course that their kids are to study. And of course, in a world where it's now mobile learning, right? Okay, parents can, connect their child to Coursera, to EDX, to FutureLearn and those platforms and open up their child to learn the right thing. Let's ask the question. I mean, I studied mechanical engineering. I'm not doing anything mechanical engineering today. I mean, I tell you, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not doing anything mechanical engineering today. We have seen that trend several times, right? That disconnection. We study courses that one because there was nothing to guide. There was nothing. There was nothing to guide to say this is the right way to go. This is the right course that this child should follow and all of that. So we're saying that even right now, um, in Africa, we need to have such kind of approach where at the end of the day, what we are showing is not just grades, but we're showing skill set that is able to help parents make the right decision, all right? And then if we're thinking about migration, if you're thinking about migration too, it can be easy when you're looking at, okay, this country I want to migrate to, even if you're thinking of migrating, okay, what are the emerging jobs? What are the dominant jobs in that country? What are the opportunities that are in for me? What are the skills that I need to have before migrating so I can really thrive in that economy? And that provides a sort of guidance, right? So all the way down to K to 12, if we bring it out to grassroots level, if we bring it down to the bottom of the pyramid, so I think what we're saying is that we need to be very disruptive in Africa in the sense that we need to reconsider the kind of learning experiences that we have. We want to see more of inquiry-based learning. We want to see more of scenario-based learning. We want to see more of problem-based learning. We want to see more of project-based learning. We want to see these things as the kind of learning that we have. And they also want to see a situation where young people already have digital portfolios. I mean, you know what, Teresa? I take my time to go to LinkedIn. And right now, I see this trend. You see teenagers coming to LinkedIn. You see them coming to come and create their profile, coming to tell you they are doing this. You see some of them already owning companies, right? That's what we want to see our kids. Our kids seeing themselves in that way. That though they are young, but they have the capacity to do great things. Not just boxed up in a place where all they are thinking about is paper problems, an exam is coming, and they do not have that opportunity to interact with real problems, with reality. I think I should hand over to you now.
Yes. And I like what you're saying there because learners need to realize that they need to be able to be marketable.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
nobody
yeah.
is going to do that for you. Yes, you can
Mm,
have a great report card and you can have all these beautiful percentages that are on there or the best symbols. But if it comes into a practical environment where you are competing with another candidate for a particular job, the employer is going to be looked at the one that is most marketable or has presented themselves as most marketable.
yeah.
And I like what you're saying, having a portfolio of evidence of your competencies,
Mm,
as opposed to simply just a paper that says that you have completed an examination and received a certain amount of marks. And I'm going to go back to our comment section there because I think that comment or that question ties in with what we are saying. How do we integrate this new model, seeing that our curriculum does not give room for such development at the moment? And that is so valid because I think that's what we said. That's what most educators are struggling with. Curriculum and delivery of curriculum and completing curriculum and assessing curriculum. I think what we are suggesting is we can't say throw the curriculum out of the window. We wish we could have
yeah,
said that. But what we are saying is we can have a look at how can we align the curriculum with the kind of skills that we are talking about so that
yeah,
the learning experience is not simply just regurgitating curriculum, but using the content in a way that is more meaningful so that
yeah,
learners have competencies and not just the content knowledge. They have competencies. So, what are you able to do with this knowledge that you have gained? And especially for us in Africa, so how can you use that now to make a difference in your school, in your family, in your community, in your country,
yeah,
in the continent,
yeah,
in the world? Because I
yeah,
think if we are able to get to that level, Africa is going to be what it is that we envision. And there are many people who are seeing the potential that we have. So it is possible if we only get the awareness going. If one person can affect the people in his field of interest, and it sort of cascades, then I think we're going to get to a point where this starts making sense to the larger community as well.
yeah, yeah,
So if you are having trouble with that, then please reach out to us. We can make some suggestions on how we can help you to just make you see how we can integrate this with curriculum and try and make life a little bit easier also for you as an educator.
yeah,
Having
definitely.
said that, I also want to use an example. I'm currently mentoring a group of students who they post grade 12 and they don't have money to study, but they want to do something with their lives. So they've decided that they would like to market free love items. They have no background, they have no education, but they have the desire to create an empire. So, simply by asking the right kind of questions, these learners have come back and they have surprised me. One of the things that I've mentioned is, look, I see there's a building down the road. You guys maybe want to find out what that building is going for. And they come back and they say, well, they want 30,000 rand in rent per month. And I'm like, okay, so that's probably not an option. And he says, no, we're putting together a proposal. And in the proposal, we are going to just provide them with some options. And to me, I was stunned. I was like, okay, that makes
Yeah,
perfect sense. So how are you
yeah,
going to do
yeah,
that? We're going to do a course quickly to see how it is that you put together a proposal. So now they are fired by the need to find information, and they know where to find the information. They're going to go onto
yeah,
Allison.com and find the information. And that's just one example of what it is that we are speaking to. This is the kind of learners that we want. We want people who are forward thinking, who see solutions,
yeah,
not new problems. So, okay, there's a problem. So, what do we do next? How do we solve that problem? What is the next set of skills that I now need to mitigate this problem? Okay, so maybe I
mm,
need to learn some stuff. Right now, I need to go onto the internet, find a place where I can learn. And learning is no longer inaccessible.
yeah,
Learning is just the touch of a button away. You don't have to do an entire course. You can do a simple 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute YouTube video, 30-minute course. That is what we are speaking to. And I think that is the kind of education that we are trying to promote here.
yeah, yeah. Definitely, definitely. That's what we're talking about. I like that we're talking about examples now, because yeah. So this question is pops up several times. Educators are, how can I creatively make this happen? How can I creatively make this happen? How do I? And that's one of the schools we're working with here in Nigeria. So this term, there's a project we want to be jumping. I must mention again too that you need to be raw. Like you need to be, you need to, you need to, um, you need to have a level of determination, right? Have a level of discernment to say, no, we're going for this. This is going to happen, right? You need to be ready for that. You need to be ready to confront your leaders. I mean, you need to be ready to do that right now, right? That's what that's good. You need to be ready to confront your school, not confront in a negative sense, but to go approach them and say, you're thinking about this, and you have this great idea. I watched this movie, Freedom Writers. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah,
inspiration.
yeah, so inspirational. I knew that teacher, right? She would have given up and just thrown the towel, you know. But she said, "No, this is gonna happen. I'm gonna create great learning experiences here, and it's gonna happen, right?" So you need that kind of determination, right? You need that kind of determination. You want to go. She went. She met some teachers. They tried to discourage her. She didn't give up. Even her husband. It wasn't so easy. But you need to just be that kind of person, right? You don't want to give up. You really don't want to give up, right? So there's this school I was mentioning. So the plan is that there's this project-based learning experience we want to do this term, and there's a topic, and these are primary school kids. They're primary school kids. There's a topic in their curriculum that says common illness in the community. Common illness in the community. Now, conventionally, what would have been done is just that the teacher goes to the classroom and then writes a note on common illness in the society, and the kids dub the note, and then that's all. And like my friend would say, it goes in the book, it goes in the bag, it goes nowhere, you know, and then it just ends that way. But what these kids are going to do is going to be project based. Now, the first thing they're going to do, the first phase of the experience is that these kids are going to go out in groups into the community, and then they are going to interview adults, right? They're going to interview adults, and the question they want to ask these adults is, have you fallen sick in the last 1 month? What was the nature of the sickness? So they want to know the name of that particular sickness that has happened in the last 1 month for everyone. So by the time they go and do the interview and around that community, and they pull all of the information together, they come back to school and analyze the information. Which of these sickness is dominant, right? So out of all the ones they've been able to gather, for example, if it's malaria, then we know that in this community, most of these people are prone to malaria. Now, what is the reason? Now, they will now take this information to the nearest health center, to the nearest government health center, and say, we have found something that you might need. we have a number of people in this community who have been prone to these sicknesses. Please, can you come around and create an awareness and let them know what they need to do to stay safe from this particular sickness, since most of these people are affected by this particular sickness. Now, these are primary school kids. Now, they are they are going to see education in a different light. Look at the opportunity they have to really solve a problem. Right? This is it's a serious problem, and that they want to solve. Right? And so if as kids they already see themselves that way, right? This is how we're going to build the next generation of politicians, of leaders who value human life, right? Who will not place their pocket first, right? Generation of leaders who understand the life of humans and who will go all out to inconvenience themselves to make other people happy. Not some people sitting down somewhere in a classified place and doing random meetings, and they do this meeting every now and then that cannot change anything. So this is how we are generally going to build that next generation of leaders, of young people who, wherever they find themselves, they want to solve problems. They want to solve problems. So we are gradually redefining education, or rather the essence of education, as what should be able to solve current problems, and not just informing people, young people, and just copy, crime, regurgitate, and everything, all of that. So that's practically again one thing that can happen, right? That can happen. It can happen in different, and that's why, Teresa, this time one of the things that we want to do is we want to keep, brainstorming with teachers a lot, right? We're working with three schools in Nigeria right now, and these three schools, what we're doing this time. So these three schools is a test run experience, right? We're going to be doing a lot of brainstorming. We want to show them that it's possible for you to turn that curriculum upside down, right? So we don't keep giving the excuse of, oh, is the curriculum, is the curriculum, is the curriculum. Even with the curriculum, you can turn it upside down and create a different experience. That would be great in spite of the curriculum, right? So we're trying to say that the curriculum can be blended, the learning experience can be blended, and we can do with what we have and still create something exceptional.
And you can flip the classroom.
Exactly, and we can flip the classroom. Exactly, yeah, that's going to happen.
I was just listening to that now, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, take a look at all the skills that are involved in
Yeah,
that project
yeah,
now. The
exactly,
learners are going to
exactly.
be using listening skills because they
Yeah,
need to listen to the responses, speaking
yeah,
skills because
yeah,
they have to present what they have. They
yeah,
have to do it again when they have to come together and talk about what their findings were.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
research skills involved. They have
yeah,
to collate the
yeah,
information, so there's writing skills
yeah,
involved.
yeah.
So there are so many levels of education happening at the same time, and it's
At the same
valuable
time,
because it's information they actually actively work with.
yeah,
And I think in our next blog coming out, we're going to be talking about that the difference between passive and active learning. That's an active
yeah,
learning experience.
yeah,
Is it in the curriculum?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Is it going to be assessed? Yes. But instead
yeah,
of just giving a kid a page with information on malaria and all the other diseases in the
mhm,
community and what the causes, these children are now practically working with what happens in a real life situation, and they go further than that. They take it out to the community and seek for
yeah,
the
yeah,
solutions, which is what we
yeah.
want. We want the solutions, and I love that.
Exactly.
I think that's brilliant.
Exactly. That's what we are. That's what we want to have in Africa. And I say it again that if we have this kind of education system in Africa, we can be so sure that our future is going to be filled with less problems and a lot of innovations, a lot of solutions everywhere. If that becomes the thinking, if that becomes the architecture of our school leaders,
I'm
of
sorry, can you repeat that? That was distorted. Can you repeat that again, please?
yeah. So if that becomes the thinking, if that becomes the psychology for our school leaders, for the Ministry of Education, if there's that agreement from the top to the bottom. But of course, we can't wait for the ministry, for the Federal Ministry of Education, for this. We really can't wait for that to happen, right? We want to take the bull by the horn right now. Right now, we are so much behind now. We need to do something right now. We are that generation that is saying no more. We are the no more generation. We're saying no more, no more, no more. We're going to take the bull by the horn and create our own future. We're no longer going to wait for our government. It has taken. We've waited for them this far, and they've not been able to solve the problem. we'll take it by ourselves and provide the solution. We are going all out to do everything we can, having conversations, providing every support we can, everything we can do in every way to ensure that the coming generation have a brighter vision. They have a brighter vision for a brighter Nigeria, right? They have what it takes to really, birth the kind of Africa we want to see. And, we are the one Africa is waiting for, and we're gonna do it.
And I think that's the message that we'd also like to send out. It's like let's just think of removing all the problems we have generally
Yeah,
as educators. Let's
yeah,
as school leaders. Yes, we know there's these problems, but can we
yeah,
just for a moment let's just forget about that problems and just
yeah,
focus on. So what is it that I can do immediately
yeah,
right here, right
yeah,
now? Because
yeah,
unfortunately, EAZY-DIGI cannot get rid of your curriculum.
yeah,
But what we are saying is we this is how our journey began.
yeah,
We had things to learn from each other, and
mm,
that inspired a bigger vision, and look where we are at now.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's an example of how important it is to just reach out to somebody that can give you a little bit more motivation, a little bit
yeah,
more skills, share
yeah,
knowledge.
mm,
So if you are an educator out there and you're saying, so how is this helpful to me? Let's keep it simple. Reach out.
yeah, yeah.
If
Just
you
reach
are
out.
having a problem with in a certain area, reach out. Let's see what it is that we can do to assist. If you are an educator out there who is already doing this and you have a working example, let's share. If you are
Yeah,
somebody that has the kind of skills that somebody else can benefit from, let's share. Because that is the point of what we are doing here now. We want to be able to share expertise so that we are able to assist. Maybe we're going to do just one person at a time, but if that one person carries it forward, then the vision that we have will come about because we will be able to do it one person, one school, one learner, one educator, one school at a time.
yeah.
And I think
Exactly, exactly, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. One educator, one school at a time. Yeah. Exactly. And that's what we're trying to do.
that's
We're trying to build models. Right. We're trying to create evidence. I believe that an evidence is a revolution. That's one of my mantra. An evidence is a revolution. Right. If people see a replication um, of these realities, right, they are motivated to want to go for it, right? So it doesn't look like we're just speaking theories and theories and theories and theories. Hey, see, it's happening here. Just like it's happening at Pearl's Garden School. Hey, see, it's happening here, right? These are Nigerian schools that are disrupting, right? They are disrupting their curriculums. They are disrupting the whole system and really focusing on what's relevant, right? It's happening here. It can happen in your school. It can happen to you as an educator, and you can be different. You can create more meaningful, relevant, and deeper learning experiences. Ah, yeah, so I think we've come to a great place into this into
absolutely,
this
absolutely.
conversation.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
I think that is why it's important that our listeners understand why this research is important to us.
mm,
Um, so, yes, there's this thing called the Global Risk Report, and maybe it doesn't affect us on a personal level, but on a global
yeah,
level, that's so important.
yeah,
And we are going to align to something that is bigger than us, and we work towards mitigating the factors that have already been highlighted for us, then I
yeah,
think we're moving in the right direction because there
yes,
are certain things that we are unable to change, but
yeah,
there are things that we are able to.
yeah,
So, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for listening to us. If you've tuned in, I hope you have the context of what it is that we are doing here now. We're doing the research, we're finding the information, we're having a discussion about this information, and we're using that to inform how we can reach out and assist, collaborate, and maybe even change a learner's life.
yeah, exactly, exactly. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Yeah, so we've come to a good place today. And we we have to go. And one thing you need to know is that we're going to be doing this from time to time. Um, so want to do this. This is going to be a weekly thing. We're going to be coming back every week. Talking about this research, this report. We just feel it's very important for every educator to know what is happening in the world, right? Thank you so much, Teresa, for those information, for those data, for the data, for the figures, and it means a lot. It means a lot. It means a lot, right? The World Economic Forum is always bringing out a lot of data, a lot of reports, so that we can be more aware, right? So that we can make the right. I believe the more and more you think about the future, the more accurate your decisions can be in the present, right? So getting more insight into the future, that strategic intelligence, being able to know, and that's one thing was saying that we need to leverage on right now in Africa in education. We need to design for the future. We need to design for the future, and that's what we're doing right there. We have a problem at EAZY, and the problem is that it's a good problem anyway. Problem is that we're always thinking about the future. That's our problem. It's our problem, and we can't be delivered from that problem. Everything we are only thinking about the future. If right now, if you see the both of us here, right now we are in 2030, right? That's what we are. We're in 2020, but right now we are in 2030, right? We're thinking 2030 and beyond. That's what we are. We're always thinking about the future, and that's why you see our conversations are future forward. We're not talking about the present, right? We're talking about the future, right? And that's the way it should go. So again, for everyone that's tuned in, that will listen afterwards, thank you, and we hope you find this chat insightful, inspiring, and also motivating, right? Be a disruptive educator, do something different, and please reach out. We'd like to hear from you. We want to hear from you. You can share with us. We are so um, happy to hear from you anytime, any day. Teresa, once again, thank you so much. Thank you for the great contribution. Yeah,
Thank
yes.
you, and thank you for the platform.
Yeah. So we have to go now, and then we're coming back again next week to continue this. Right. So please, as you watch the video, if you have any question, anything, please feel free to share, to drop in the chat box. We'll see it on YouTube, and we'll respond real time. All right. So thank you, everyone. We have to go now. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you. Bye.